Hello, welcome to English 102. My name is Bree McGregor and I'm going to be your instructor for the next 8 weeks. I created this video because I wanted to just briefly introduce myself to you. I want to give you a quick tour of our Blackboard course shell so that you feel comfortable navigating our online learning environment. And then I wanted to spend some time talking to you in a little more detail about the work that you'll do in this course. We have a lot to accomplish in a very short amount of time, and so I want to make sure that you feel confident jumping right in on the first day of the semester. So what you're looking at right now is our home page. This is the point of entry for our course, and this area is the announcements area. Anytime I have timely, important information to share with you, I'm going to post it here as an announcement. So for example, if you have feedback and grades in the Grade Center to review, I'll post a message here that is available to you in the Grade Center. If there are any changes to assignments or due dates, I'll post that information here as an announcement. And if I have students emailing me and with questions and concerns about the work in the course, and I think that everyone could benefit from the information that I'm going to share with that student, I often will post that here as an announcement as well. So when you come into our Blackboard course, please always take a minute to first read through the announcements and see if there's any new timely information, because again, this information is typically important information that will directly impact you and the work that you're doing. All right, on the left-hand side here, you'll see our, this is the sort of the main navigation area, and you'll see this is where we are now in the announcements tab, and you'll see some other tabs as well. So you can click on any of these tabs to navigate to different areas of our Blackboard course. So I'm going to move on to the instructor information tab and just take a minute to tell you a little bit about me. I've been teaching at Arizona Western College since 2010. I started as a full-time faculty member in the English department. I have a master's degree in English with a focus on literacy, technology, and professional writing, and my bachelor's degree was also in English. My major was literature and my minor was creative writing. Recently, I was accepted into the Writing and Rhetoric PhD program at George Mason University in Northern Virginia, and I am currently enrolled as a full-time student in that program. So just like you, I am also a student, and I have to confess, it's been a painful transition. I haven't been a student for a while, and it definitely is taking some getting used to. So I definitely have a lot of sympathy for all the hard work that you do as students, as writing students, and I really appreciate the hard work that you do. I know that sometimes it is stressful. Let's see. So currently I teach part-time online for AWC. My husband is in the military, and in 2014 we moved to Virginia. Which is why I was able to start this PhD program at George Mason University. So I'm living in Virginia now, and I'm still teaching part-time online for AWC. And since I don't have a physical office on campus in Yuma, the best way to reach me is by email. I'm really good at responding to emails. They come directly to my phone, and any email left before 4 p.m. Monday through Friday will be returned the same day. If you email me after 4 p.m., I'll respond to your message typically the following day. Sometimes I get back to you the same day, but most often, if it's after 4 p.m., you can expect that you'll hear from me the next weekday. So that means if you do message me after 4 p.m. on Friday, you may not hear from me until Monday. That's something you want to keep in mind, especially since most of the work in this course is due on Sunday at midnight. And so really this is a gentle hint to try your best not to procrastinate and wait until Friday night to begin doing that week's work, because if you run into any problems and you get stuck, you may not be able to get in touch with me to get help. So please, do the work throughout the week so that if you encounter any problems, you can get in touch with me before Friday at 10 o'clock at night, and I can help you to the best of my abilities. If you would like to talk one-on-one, and email is not your preferred mode of communication, we can talk on the phone, we can Skype, we can instant message, we can meet in Google Hangout, whatever you prefer. Just send me an email, let me know your preferred mode of communication, let me know when you're available, and give me the details that I need so that I can get in touch with you. And then I have some tips here for communication best practices. And you can read this on your own time, but one thing I will tell you, you are often anonymous when you start a class. An instructor typically has a lot of students, so they may not know exactly who you are until you reach out and contact them and you initiate that one-on-one communication. When you do that, you pop up on your instructor's radar and you're making that first impression with them. You want to make it a good first impression. A good first impression can really work in your favor throughout the semester. So think about the ways in which you can communicate in a really professional manner. And again, I have some tips here for you, and not just for my class, but for any instructor that you may communicate with. And these tips apply in the professional field as well. You really want to make a good first impression. It can go a long way to working in your favor when it comes to establishing those professional relationships or academic relationships. All right, so moving on. Just quickly here, you'll see that we have materials and policies in this tab. So this includes my requirements and policies for the course. I have some very specific policies, including a late work policy and a classroom citizenship policy. So please make sure you click on this and you take some time to read through these policies. They are definitely very important to me in this course. For example, I do have a late work policy that I accept late work, but it is at a rate of minus 10% off of the final grade per day. Also, classroom citizenship is really important to me. I want us to have a community that we work within where you feel like you can participate fully and be supportive in a healthy, encouraging environment. So please take some time to read about our classroom citizenship and your rights and powers, because I feel like you do have rights and powers in this classroom, in our virtual classroom. So take some time to read about that. Let's see, some other information and materials and policies include our syllabus, a link to the bookstore, and our course materials. And I really want to point out here that the bookstore does not have the correct listing of textbooks. It's missing one textbook, The Curious Researcher. And I sent you an email a couple of weeks ago telling you that this is a required textbook for our course, and you are expected to have this from the first day of class. So if you don't have The Curious Researcher, please purchase this textbook immediately. You can get this at the bookstore at AWC. You can buy it on Amazon, and I believe we even have a copy on reserve in the library on main campus, which means you can go to the library and ask the librarian at the reference desk to use the book, but you can't check it out and take it home. So you can read it in the library, you just can't take it home with you. So if you need to do something like that, make temporary arrangements until you can actually buy the textbook, please do so. Oh, and I think we even have a copy of The Curious Researcher in the Writing Center on reserve as well. So you could go to the Writing Center on campus, you could sit in the center, and you could do the reading as well there. The other textbook that's required is this handbook, a writer's resource. I don't care which edition you have of this textbook. Feel free to buy a used edition and save yourself some money. This textbook you use, or this handbook you use independently. It can help you with different stages of the writing process, and it can also help you during the editing and revision stages. It's a very useful tool. It's not something I'm going to assign reading from, but it's something that I recommend that you have on hand to help you with the editing and the revising of your writing this semester. So, all right, moving on to, let's see, the introductions. Here in this is a discussion forum, and if you scroll down, you will find our very first discussion forum is the introduction, and here's where you'll take a few minutes to introduce yourself. The instructions are posted here, so you'll want to read those instructions, and that's one of the first things you'll want to do this week is introduce yourself to the class. All right, moving on to the weekly sessions. In the weekly sessions, you'll find the grades for the course, the grade weights, as well as the course calendar that describes week by week the assignments we'll be doing in the course. You'll see a folder that contains information about the discussions that we're going to have. The discussions play a big part of the work that we do this semester in our course, and I'll come back to those in a few minutes. You'll find a link to our discussion blog. And here is where you'll find information about the work you do week to week this semester. So you'll see right now I've made weeks 1 and 2 available. I always like to have at least 1 or 2 weeks ahead available to you so that those of you that like to look ahead and see what's on the horizon can do so. And those of you who like to work ahead can do that as well. I've also made week 8 available so you can see what's going to be going on for finals week. And I'll come back to these in a minute, but let's go ahead and finish our tour here. Writing projects. So this semester in our class, we're going to do 3 very small writing projects. These are small projects. I want to really emphasize this. These are small writing projects that we'll be doing this semester. And here you see there's one folder for each of them. Writing project 1, 2, and 3. I call them writing projects because they don't necessarily have to take the form of an essay, and I'll come back to that in a few minutes. You'll also see that you're going to have a semester-long research paper. This is an independent writing project that you're going to do on your own alongside, sort of simultaneously as you work on the other assignments in the class. So this is sort of like a side project that you'll work on for the whole semester. And then finally, you'll see the link for the final exam portfolio. Also, you'll see an evaluation rubric that I use to evaluate your writing projects, and you'll see some information about the requirements for writing projects 1, 2, and 3. And I'll come back to this folder in a minute. I want to move on now to the research journal. The research journal is where you're going to do all of your brainstorming, your pre-writing, your drafting, all of those activities that is going to lead you to your first draft of your semester-long research project. So I just wanted you to have a separate space to work on your research project so that it wouldn't get tangled up and confused in the other work that we're doing this semester. So every single one of you, when you come into your research journal, every single one of you will have your own private space to do the work for your research project. So you can see here a list of all the students. So you each have your own journal where you can do the work for your research project. And you'll see these are the assignments, the different assignments that we'll be doing over the course of this semester for your research project. All right, and then the writer's workshops. We do a writer's workshop for all of the writing projects, the research paper, and the portfolio. Writer's workshops are really important to me, and I've designed them as a way to prevent you from writing that one draft and done the night before an assignment is due. So typically a week before a writing project is due, you'll be submitting a draft here in the writer's workshop. You'll get lots of peer feedback and you'll have time to revise that draft and before you submit it for a grade. So I'm putting some checks and balances in place to prevent you from approaching writing as a one and done type of drafting process. So this is where you'll find your writer's workshops. And then finally here, or almost finally, not quite, in this tab here you'll find some different tools that you can use this semester if you want to send an email, if you want to create tasks for yourself that you can keep track of, if you want to check out your grades and the feedback that I'm giving you, you can find it here. So a lot of different things that you can use here in the tools section. And then finally, this is a link to our AWC library. You will be doing some scholarly research this semester. And I see this tab isn't really working. Okay, if that tab doesn't work for you, another way to get to the library would be through Arizona Western College, the homepage. Right here on our homepage, if you scroll down, you see here's the academic library. So here's another way to get to our online library to do research this semester. Really easy way to conduct research, right? Type your topic in right here and get to work. So I recommend if this isn't working for you, to go through the AWC homepage to get to the library. I don't know why that didn't work. All right, so let's go back here to the weekly sessions. And we'll start with week 1. So for each weekly session, the first page that you'll come to is sort of an overview of that particular week. So here you see week 1 overview, and I am describing the type of work that we're going to be doing this week. I've given you the dates for this particular week, and here you see the description of the work we'll be doing. And then I give you a checklist, so it's a good way, just a reminder of the things that you want to accomplish by Sunday, 11:59 p.m. And you're going to want to watch this video that you're watching right now. You're going to want to participate in the introductions, right, which is in this tab right here. You'll want to join our Discourse WordPress blog. I'm going to send you an email invitation to do that. So that's something that you'll just wait to hear from me on. And when you get my invitation, then you'll join our blog. And then you're going to complete these readings. There are 3 readings here. The first one is the AWC Library Online Research, which is located here in this module. The second one is Academic Search Premier Basic Search, also located here in this module. And the third reading assignment is our textbook, The Curious Researcher by Bruce Ballinger. You're going to want to read Introduction, Rethinking the Research Paper, Chapter 1, and Appendix A. That sounds like a lot of reading, but I promise you they're really short readings. This textbook, the Ballinger textbook, is a very thin textbook. It's very easy to read. I really like this book. Also, for number 5, you'll see your semester-long research paper begins this week. We're jumping right in. And what you'll want to do is read all the materials in the research paper folder located in the Writing Projects tab. And then going into your private journal, you'll want to complete your first journal exercises. And those exercises are going to be in Chapter 1, 1.1, 1.3, and 1.4. So let's just go look at the research project. Okay, so here's your semester-long research project. If you click on this link, you'll find another link to the project overview, and you'll see a project timeline for completing the work in your journal and the writer's workshop. So this is just a handy timeline to help you as you're working. And here's where you'll submit the final draft of your paper. So you'll want to take some time to read this project overview, and I won't read it for you. I don't want to waste your time in this video, but you'll definitely want to come back and spend some time reading this, especially paying attention to the requirements, the prompt of the assignment. You'll want to spend some time reading that for sure. All right, going back to the weekly sessions. So you've just seen the checklist for week 1. Excuse me. There is some other content in this folder, right? There are a couple of readings that you're supposed to be doing. So you'll see here in the table of contents, there are a few more items. You can click on these directly, or you can click this arrow here to scroll through all 4 pages. I'm going to click on the arrow to scroll through. So here you see a link to your journal, and here's a listing of the journal assignments that were included in the checklist, along with a description of the work that you're doing in your journal this week. Page 3 is instructions for completing the assignment for online research, the reading assignment. And page 4 will actually launch you to a new tab. Let's see. Uh-oh. So I can see that I maybe need to update this link. I know we're having a little bit of trouble with Blackboard this week, so I may need to update this link. I'll definitely work on this, and hopefully by the time you watch this video, it'll be corrected. That's not good, huh? We want to get off on the right foot here. Oh, here we go. Okay, so here you'll see a link to the reading. So I just want to take a few minutes, scroll through this. This literally is step-by-step how to conduct scholarly research in our online academic library. So you'll definitely want to take some time to look at this handout because you're going to be doing scholarly research for your semester-long research project and for writing projects 1, 2, and 3, since this is a research-intensive argumentative writing course. Okay, so going back to the weekly sessions. So you see what week 1 looks like. Week 2 is designed in very much the same way. You start with an overview, a description of the work we're going to be doing, followed by a checklist. Here's the checklist, right? So this writing here kind of takes the place of me giving a brief lecture at the beginning of a class. So you'll want to spend some time reading that. And you'll see again, here's more information. So that's the work that you'll be doing in week 2. And the same will be the same format you'll find for week 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I tried to be consistent. Okay, so let's talk about this discussion blog. I've created a blog for our class, and it's actually a blog that I started in the fall with another English 102 course that I have really enjoyed, working on with these students. And so I'm going to continue this blog with you guys this semester, and what I wanted to do was find a way for us to situate our conversations about some timely social discourse themes. I wanted to find a way to situate those in a public space because I think it's important that we think about audiences outside of our classroom, right? I mean, the university campus is traditionally a place that is privileged by access, right? Not everyone has the opportunity to access this community. And so I thought it would be really interesting for us to take these conversations and put them in a space where they're more accessible to people beyond the institution, beyond the college campus. And so what we'll be doing this semester is we're going to be having our discussions as a class here in the class blog. So I've given you some instructions here for our discourse blog that explain from the homepage, that explain what this blog is all about and how we're going to use it. So the first thing you'll want to do is definitely spend some time reading about the instructions for creating content in this blog. And I have some tutorials here for you too. If you've never blogged before, I promise it's a pretty simple process, and these helpful tutorials can make it even easier for you. So just to show you, we have 3 units this semester and also 3 writing projects that correspond to each unit. And so we'll have 3 sets of discussions. So here you'll see the required readings for Unit 1 for our discussions. So the first required reading is a scholarly article, and as a warm-up, I'm only asking that you read the first 7 pages. It's called The Sociology of Social Inclusion. It's a really interesting article. You may decide you want to read more. Then I pulled a couple of popular news articles for us to read. These are required readings. I also recommend that you read these. They may help give you a broadened perspective of the topic that we're going to be looking at through the lens of inclusion and exclusion. If you want to take a look at some student posts from last semester, you can find the student posts here. And you'll see that since we created the blog this fall, we've had over 600 hits. We've had lots of posts, lots of comments. So if you look at the student posts for inclusion and exclusion, you'll get a really good idea of what a good blog post looks like and how to meet the requirements of the assignment. So I recommend take some time to browse through these blog posts. They really are fantastic. I was so impressed with the work that students did this semester. And each unit, it just gets better and better. And you'll see that a lot of the blogs have comments on them as well, which was a lot of fun. Let's see, and you'll see there are blog posts for Power and Powerless, as well as for Rebellion and Conformity. So we've got some fun, but also some challenging, complicated, interesting, and provocative topics to discuss this semester in our class. So that's our blog, and here are the instructions for contributing to the blog. You definitely need to read the instructions carefully, and then also when you contribute to the blog, you are going to be limited to the following sources. So you're going to contribute a new article and add something to the discussion this semester, and you are only allowed to use these sources when you do research and you make a post to the blog. So make sure you take some time to read through these. these instructions really carefully. And again, here's a link to the blog. Here's some tutorials if you need some help. But you definitely want to spend some time before you make your first blog post reading the instruction and make sure you understand which websites you can use when you go to share a source on our blog, because I have really strict requirements for this. All right. And let's see. Let's move on to the writing projects. Excuse me. Okay. So we've got 3 short writing projects this semester in our course, and they have specific requirements. So make sure you take some time to read the instructions for each writing project and the tips I have here for choosing the medium that you use. So what I'm saying here when I say choosing your medium, you don't have to write an academic essay for writing projects 1, 2, and 3. In fact, if you hate the academic essay, you could potentially avoid writing an academic essay for almost the entire semester. You could only write an academic essay for your research paper if that's how you feel about academic essays. So you have a couple of different medium options. You can write an academic essay. You could write a narrative essay, which would be like an op-ed piece in the New Yorker, for example. You could write a YouTube video, you could create a YouTube video or a podcast. You could draft a letter or a memo. You could create an infographic. So I have specific requirements, though, that you must meet depending on the medium you choose. And the reason I want to give you this freedom to choose the medium that you'd like to use is because I want to challenge you to explore opportunities to write for different audiences and to achieve different purposes with your writing. Right? When we write the academic essay, it's really easy to just think of your instructor as your audience, and you're just writing this to tell her what you think she wants to hear to get a good grade, right? And writing should be about so much more than that. So I'm hoping that by choosing some different memos, you can begin to imagine different audiences. And for each medium that you choose for writing projects 1, 2, and 3, at the end of that project, after your conclusion, you're going to write a brief paragraph explaining to me why you chose that medium. What audience did you want to reach? How did it enhance your purpose? How did it help you achieve your purpose for that particular project? So you'll want to explain that to me at the end of your project. And notice that for these written projects, we're looking at 4 pages at the most, and that does include a works cited page. So these are shorter papers. If it's an academic essay, it could literally be a 5-paragraph essay. So I don't want you to feel intimidated by these. These are not big papers, right? These are just small papers. And I want to recommend to you that your paper should be an expansion of what you write in your discussion blog. So for Unit 1, when we look at inclusion and exclusion, the source that you share in the blog, that you write about, that you talk about, you should end up using that source in writing project 1 and looking at that particular topic as the focus for exploring the theme of inclusion and exclusion. That topic should become the example that helps illustrate your argument about inclusion and exclusion. So keep that in mind. Work smarter, not harder. Think about the work that you do in that discussion blog post as a stepping stone to your writing project. All right? Okay, so you can explore the rest of that on your own time for writing projects 1, 2, and 3. And then take some time here again to look at the semester-long research project and read that overview. I do want to mention that the research project can be about virtually anything you want to write about, but it must be something that enters into the discourse of the major themes we're covering this semester: rebellion and conformity, or power and powerless, or exclusion and exclusion. So think about where or when in your life have you experienced any of these things? Have you observed them in your community, in our country, elsewhere in the world? At the heart of this research project is seeking answers to questions. So I want you to pick a topic about which you don't have a lot of knowledge, but something that really piques your curiosity. This topic could be something that you've always been interested in, but never had time to investigate. It could be something about your personal history, about your community, your culture, your major, any current local, regional, national, or world events. Really There is no end to the list of possibilities. It simply must be something that sparks in you a need to know more, to find answers. And it must be something, again, that enters into the discourse themes of either rebellion and conformity, power and powerlessness, inclusion or an exclusion. Okay? And when you think about the topic you want to choose, keep in mind that you need to be able to research it in the following ways. You need to be able to find 2 credible web sources. Those could come from our discussion blogs, or you could use those required websites and you could do further investigation to find out something about a new topic, right? You need to have 3 scholarly sources accessed through our AWC library. You need to have 1 interview or observation. That means that even if you pick a topic that's on a national scope, right, you still have to find a way to connect that locally, which if you're looking at a topic from the perspective of inclusion and exclusion, you should be able to find a connection between, for example, ways people are included or excluded somehow in your local community, right? Something you can observe or interview. And then finally, you will create a piece of data, a graph, a chart, an infographic, something that can paint a picture for us, right, through data that can further your argument. All right, if you have questions about this as you begin working the semester, please email me and ask me those questions at any time. So I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to tell you. I know this has already been a really long video. Let's see. Final exam portfolio. Let's just talk briefly about that. For the final exam portfolio, you're going to choose 1 writing project that you worked on this semester. It could be writing project 1, writing project 2, or writing project 3. You're going to start with a reflective essay that introduces this piece of work to your peers and to me. And then you're going to provide evidence that demonstrate how you've met the learning outcomes this semester. So you have a cover page, a reflective essay that introduces the pieces you've selected, and a reflection that refers to the process you engaged in for each piece that's included. So those pieces would be the writing project that would start with your initial blog post and the comments from your peers, the rough draft you submitted to the peer workshop, a selection of the most helpful feedback you received in the workshop, the final draft you submit for a grade, and the new re-revised and expanded final draft of the writing project. And you'll want to make sure that you provide a brief analysis for each piece you include, explaining why they reflect in some way your writing process, your writing habits, and the learning outcomes that you've accomplished this semester. And this is something that you can begin working on as soon as you decide which project you'd like to go into the portfolio. So if it's the very first writing project, you can begin working as early as when that first writing project is returned. So again, if you have any questions about this during the 8 weeks of this semester, please contact me and I'd be happy to discuss that in further detail. All right, so going back to our weekly sessions, for week 1, don't forget to take a look at this checklist. You'll want to participate in the introductions, join our discourse blog, and get to work on these readings and start brainstorming some ideas for selecting your semester-long research paper topic. And again, if you have any questions, please get in touch with me at any point in the semester. And please communicate any questions or concerns with me proactively. If you wait until the last minute when something's due, it may be too late for me to give you the best help that I can. So if you communicate questions, concerns, issues to me early, I'm better positioned to give you the help and the support that you need, okay? All right, well, I guess that's it. I look forward to working with you all this semester and getting to know you as students through your writing, and I wish you the very best of luck, and I will see you in the introductions forum.